You're about to enjoy a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands.
Have you ever felt that you as a woman may not appear to measure up when you see incredible women in strong roles? You may be surprised when hearing from women in these positions and how we all share many of the same challenges. Thank you for joining us for the SheEO Lead-In podcast with Rebecca Jones as we share the journeys of women.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Jones, your host of SheEO. We are on an exploration together to discover more about the personal journeys of incredible women in both career and life. We all have paths to share that sometimes take incredible turns, deep resilience, and courage to navigate. My hopes are that the challenges shared here encourage women to take leaps of faith and growth when a journey feels too difficult or unachievable. There is great strength deep within each one of us. These stories are meant to share the ways strong women have taken their dreams to strive and thrive to new heights despite their sometimes rocky paths and found a way to lead in. Well, today we are here with Lauren Hall from the YMCA of San Diego County. Hello, Lauren. How are you today?
Hi, Rebecca. Doing great. Thanks. Happy to be here.
Great. Well, I am excited to have you here today because I have heard that you are doing a fabulous job in this crazy pandemic over at the YMCA, and that's the YMCA, correct?
Yes, the YMCA in Encinitas, as well as the Oceanside YMCA, which is the Matino Y.
Wonderful. So tell us a little bit about what a day looks like in your life.
Well, I'm a mom of 3, so it starts very early in the morning when my 20-month-old wakes up and starts saying, "Mama," and it's still dark outside, and I have some time with her, in the hour before the rest of the house wakes up, and then it's that morning hustle to get everybody out the door into all the places they need to be. First of all, I'm so thankful everybody has a place to go and a place to be versus being stuck at home, kind of how we were at some points in the pandemic. And then I get to go to the YMCA, whether that's the Encinitas location or the Oceanside location. And I have to say, every day is different than the day before, which is part of the magic of a Y career and the work that we do. So I can't pin down, it looks just like this. And then in the evenings, I rally together with my family again. And it's, it's a fire drill in the evenings, as you probably know too. And then we start all over the next day. And that's kind of my daily Monday through Friday.
I like the flexibility. I'm sure you probably appreciate that. My schedule is very much like that as well. And I kind of think you never know what you're going to have in a certain day, but I think it keeps you on your toes, and it honestly keeps everything very exciting.
You're right. It keeps everything really interesting. I can't do the same thing every day. I will be bored. I'll be looking for other things. My eyes will be wandering to get more involved in things that I don't have time for. So having the different diversity of experiences and challenges and projects, and then just the days that things that my kids bring home too, the challenges they throw in the mix. It's like, oh, I'm getting a call from school right now in the middle of a meeting, Is somebody sick? Am I going to have to go get them? Those types of things kind of always just add a little bit of excitement.
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. My kids are 21 and 25, and I still get those calls. Mom, I need something right in the middle of a meeting. So it does happen. And, honestly, I wouldn't change a thing, of course. I mean, being a mother is a very important job. And, balancing that career. And I'm glad that you brought that up because this is a subject that a lot of women don't think that they can actually do, is the juggling. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But I want to break the ice a little bit with you. So tell us a fun childhood story about yourself.
Okay, great. So it's kind of more of a scenario of things that happened quite a bit. My mom and dad are really outgoing. And I was a pretty outgoing kid. And they kind of leverage that in ways to kind of put me out there where maybe some shy kids, it could have been traumatizing or absolutely scarring. So we would be at, Disney World, and there'll be some sort of like show or, a concert or something. And they'd ask for audience participation. And, as a kid, I'm just kind of looking around, holding my hand up, hoping I get picked. And I was never picked, but my parents would say, Lauren, you got picked. Go up on the stage. Go up on the stage. And they did this many times. Like, this wasn't just a one-time thing. So I'd go up on stage feeling super confident that I was chosen out of the audience. Maybe I just didn't see them call me out. And the MC or the magician or whoever it was would be totally caught off guard that this random child just showed up on stage. And it would turn into like a kid's, say the darndest things moment. And like I said, this was like more than once this happened. But one time we were in London and we were at a charity event and Princess Diana was there, which was like absolutely incredible. So It was like, oh my gosh, so starstruck. And my mom goes, Lauren, it's the kid's turn to go and meet her. Well, that was certainly not true. I wasn't part of like the receiving line, but I was like, okay, game on. So I go over there and I'm like waving to her and say hi, and she was super polite. And then I realized like, I don't think I'm supposed to be over here. But I look back and it certainly, they were kind of intentionally pushing me out of my comfort zone, letting me try new things, even though it wasn't necessarily appropriate or it wasn't something that was supposed to happen. But I'm thankful for those experiences because it kind of taught me to, seize the day, try things. You may not have that opportunity in the future. And because of that, I can say, hey, I had a chance to interact with Princess Diana, back when I was a child. So
that is really cool. and you know what? I do. That is very interesting. But I think probably you look back, and I think you kind of mentioned it, you really did grow from that.
Mm-hmm.
And those are definitely experiences you can't get back. I mean, they've happened. Not many people have that sort of thing. Most parents are going, no, don't go. Don't try that.
Yeah.
And so really it instills fear in us pretty young. And I think as women, we tend to be that way anyway. And so I think them doing that probably made you grow a lot. And think of all the people now that you have to meet every day. Think about all of the people that you're leading. That's exciting. I think it actually puts you exactly kind of set a path for you right where you needed to go.
I think so too. The little bits of confidence it instilled were so important. So
definitely. So do you have one word that you think describes you the best?
That's a good question. What first comes to mind are kind of the obvious, like lucky, blessed, fortunate. But if I'm looking at kind of a personality trait of myself and looking at it in that way, I would have to say assertive. That comes to mind. I think about things in my personal life where I'm pretty type A. If I want a kiddo to be in that camp, I'm going to be first in line. Professionally, I really try to go after what's important for the why. I don't sit back and let things happen. I think that probably describes me to a T, and I think my husband and my family would probably agree with that as well.
Well, think about it. 40 years ago, assertive wouldn't be a good thing. Today, if you're not assertive and you're not out there putting yourself out there and trying to get what you want, there's going to be someone else that is. So quite frankly, you have to be, I think, nowadays.
Yeah, I think it's a positive and not a negative. So I look at what I would have missed out on or my organization if I haven't been assertive. So I got to make sure you seize every opportunity and you're first in line to be there.
Right. Not cutting in line.
Never.
First in line. Yeah, me either. So how do you measure success?
So, there's a few things. Obviously, personally, holistically, looking at success, am I happy? Those are things that ultimately have to be your North Star. And that actually has guided my career path as well. Professionally, I look at things in kind of three buckets. I look at, are we growing? Are we doing more? Are we evolving? Are we serving the community in ways they want to be served and not ways that we think they should be served? Are we being innovative? I look at sustainability. Sustainability for a nonprofit is absolutely incredible and super important because if the decisions you make with those dollars, with your resources, you want to make sure your organization is here 100 years from now, that's got to be something you're always thinking of. And if you're not good stewards of those funds, it could really go south for people hundreds of years from now. So it's important to have strong sustainability. And then 3, the other kind of litmus test I have for success is, are the people around me growing? Are they learning? Are they reaching their fullest potential, which is kind of ultimately the overarching mission of the Y, helping all people realize their fullest potential. We want to make sure our staff are doing that too. So I reflect on that often. I reflect on that daily. I reflect on it certainly monthly when, the financial statements come out and things like that. But those are kind of the 3 main ones for the Y. And then personally, just that happiness metric is ultimately my North Star for success.
Well, you clearly love what you're doing. I mean, it really exudes from everything that you say. Your eyes light up when you talk about your job, which is a very good thing. And, not everyone has that. How long have you been doing what you're doing?
I have been in the executive director role for a little over 3 years now, but I have worked with the YMCA for 21 years. It started, I relocated the day after I graduated high school. My family had relocated to Encinitas. I was going to go to the University of San Diego. So I had this summer month period where I had to figure something out. And my family was like, you should go check out the Y. It's really great. I could just picture my own old hometown one, which wasn't terrible. It was just an indoor pool with some exercise equipment. So I was like, I'm not sure. And I walk in and there's just a magic. There's a magic feeling with YMCAs, especially in San Diego County, where there's a buzz. It's a community hub. And I was like, I have to be here. I have to work here. I'm not going to go get a job at a restaurant down the street, which there's nothing wrong with that, but this is where I need to be. So it turned out to be a summer job. And I, at the end of summer, I tried to quit, and they were like, well, just stay on payroll, come back on spring breaks and things like that. And I was like, gosh, wow, I always have a chance to earn money. And then it turned into this kind of interesting crossroads of really understanding the mission work and then matching my college degrees and paths with nonprofit management. So the two married each other, I would say, around my junior year of college, where I was like, I need to be in nonprofits. This is what makes me happy. I had dabbled a little bit with sports, kind of sports media and some professional sports industries. And that's where it really clicked. And when I graduated college, there was an opening for a marketing director with the Y. I was only 21 years old. I was like, there's no way they're going to hire me. I have very little experience. And they did. And I was a very young professional. I had tons to learn. Did I doubt myself during that initial interview? But I just kind of carried forward with that assertiveness and confidence, and have just kind of continued that on.
Well, and sometimes, people don't try to get jobs. And I think especially women, because we aren't our worst critics. Mm-hmm. We're so hard on ourselves. But I think a lot of times you see women that don't try to actually get jobs that they really want because that fear. And, we talk a lot about it on this show. There are so many people that have shared, well, the fear wasn't that I didn't have the qualifications. It was the fear within inside of me just because I was thinking that I couldn't actually do it. Mm-hmm. And I think we all have that. I mean, there are certainly times where I thought, okay, I can't do this. I can't do that. And, my background was real estate. And I was pretty young too. And I was selling these big, beautiful homes. And but I was scared. I was scared to take that first step. So I'm glad you did that, because I think you realized you could grow in it too. Mm-hmm. And I think specifically in nonprofit groups, there's this, I think, some confusion that there isn't a lot of growth within them. And a lot of times there are. I mean, look where you came from. You started out as kind of a camp counselor, I think is what you were saying. And then you became the marketing person, and then you've moved up, and here you are the director. And you've got 2 different locations. How many kids do you serve every year?
Oh, gosh. Okay. So Pre-COVID, we had over 100,000 enrollments. Our summer camp program, just at the EQY specifically, had nearly 10,000 campers every summer. It's absolutely mind-blowing. It's the largest day camp program in the United States. And that's one of the exciting things about the Y is we have so many different programs for kids that the volume just is exponential when you get the right people and the right roles and you find the match of what the community needs. I know in Oceanside, in that location, they're serving 1,000 kids regularly in summer camp programs. But it's a very, very large YMCA. San Diego County is the largest YMCA in the nation collectively, and it's based on a budget size, but thousands and thousands of children is who we serve. And one location alone, as I mentioned, almost 10,000 in summer camp. That was pre-COVID. This summer we'll have about 6,500, which is still quite a bit because we have to follow some of those really tight guidelines with lower ratios and things like that. But it's exciting and it's different.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So what are you seeing with the kids? Are they happy to be back? I think they would be grateful to get back, and they probably are very excited to see the smiling faces. Although, actually, I guess they can't even see the smiles. They have to wear masks, right?
So last summer, when we first came back from just everybody being home, like absolute distance learning, solitude, kids on screens. Once we came back in June of 2020, these kids were coming out of like isolation, and there were concerns about depression. Some kids had some challenges with their health in terms of, borderline obesity. And when they re-enrolled in our programs, we just saw a shift. Kids had friends again. They were happier. Parents were coming back to us saying, oh my gosh, like my kid is exercising for 8 hours a day in your skate park and he's made a handful of friends. We haven't had this kind of activity in months, and we were concerned. We were seeing a family counselor, and the Y really made a change. And I know I saw it for my own kids. In terms of the masks, we always follow the health guidelines by the state, with that, whether that's state licensing or the county health guidelines, which continuously change too. So of course, it was, I think last summer, it was like stable groups of 10. And then it was like, well, masks are recommended. We implemented that. And then, a few weeks ago, it was like, okay, you don't have to come outside. So we continuously follow what the guidance is. It's challenging to continuously communicate that with staff and parents and kids. But I have to say the kids are pretty resilient. It's more kind of the parents that have more of, take issue with some of the mask compliance things. And the kids just kind of go with the flow and follow the instructions. And they're really happy to be at camp.
Well, I think they've shown how resilient they actually are. But I'm very excited to hear that the families are feeling kind of a shift in the depression issues, because that is certainly a concern for a lot of families. Their kids are just not doing well. So especially the ones that don't have the resources to get out there. So how does the Y work with financial things? I'm not really sure. Like, are there kids that can go for a very low fee because their families can't afford it? How does that work?
Yes. So we're all about equity, access for all. We as executives spend a lot of time fundraising. That's a really big part of my hat. I have a wonderful team with operations, and I have experts that run all the things, and I make sure everything's safe at the end of the day and is running smoothly. But they're the ones who have their sleeves rolled up in the day-to-day programming. But I spend a lot of time fundraising for scholarships. We have fundraising events. We have annual campaigns. Millions of dollars are raised for this purpose to make sure kids who can't afford the Y have access to the Y. In addition, last summer, the County of San Diego, with the San Diego Foundation, pledged millions plus dollars to the Y to make sure that children of essential workers and children with challenged, fragile communities, lower income means had 100% funding on essential childcare. And we just continue to carry that on. But it comes with fundraising, and it's an important role.
So when you're leading all of these different people doing all of these different things, I'm sure you have men that work for you. Have you ever had any resistance with leading them, or an attitude that isn't, that seems like it's against you because you're a woman?
That's a good question. I haven't personally experienced it based on me being a female or not. In nonprofits, or at least in the Y, we have a lot of female leaders, and it's pretty diverse in terms of gender. But I will say I struggled in my early career because I was so young. I was a young female professional. And I don't know if the female part necessarily played a role, but I was 24 years old supervising people, directors, professionals that had 30, 35 years on me. And that has been one of the more challenging aspects of my career and growth. And it came down to really trying to harness that EQ, build relationships, build some trust, but ultimately let them understand that I'm not there to tell them what to do or how to do things, but to help them succeed. And it ended up being a wonderful relationship with those who have been so much older than me over the years, and we're still close, though they've retired. And so I consider that a success. But that was definitely a challenge, and it still could be a challenge. I'm not exactly, at the end of my career at this time either. I think I'm kind of considered youngish. I don't know.
I would consider you youngish, but I'm in my 50s, so maybe that's why. I think that's a very interesting point, because when you're looking at a team, it's like a community,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to be a lot of different voices. It's going to be different age ranges, different experiences in life. And I personally think that women need to kind of appreciate when they see someone that's a little bit older. Like for me, I always had a mentor. I don't know if you have had a mentor, but when you see someone that has a style that you like, or someone that's doing things that you think are valuable in this world, I think kind of looking at their style and sort of adopting some of it to make yourself, be the best that you could possibly be. Part of it is your content, knowing everything that you need to know for a job. But a lot of it is also, having something to contribute and being able to have the strength and the wherewithal to actually know how to put that into a conversation, to bring it to a conversation. So the age thing is a little interesting, a little bit of a different aspect, which I haven't had anyone bring that up yet. So it is very interesting to explore. I think becoming all of who we want to be and who we're going to be is a lot of different things. Having these conversations and thinking about age, I've got something important to bring to the table, even though I am young, because I have a different perspective. Especially when you're serving children, kids, teenagers, all of these voices are something that you have to listen to. And when you have someone that's a little bit younger, they bring a different perspective. I think, honestly, it's brilliant to bring in people that are a little bit younger to have that voice.
I remember a few years, this was like maybe 15 years ago or so, we're trying to understand a lot of our consumer marketing and different markets, and the millennial term was coming up. Well, I fall just on the cusp of that millennial age group there. And I'd be at conferences and even marketing trade conventions, and people would do workshops on, cracking the millennial nut. And it was interesting because I'm like, I'm a millennial. I have some things I can share, some advice. And people looked at me kind of like, oh, you're a millennial? And I'm like, yeah, just ask me. I can share with you some perspective on what you're trying to communicate with us, and what we want to understand, and what we want to, and how we want to be involved and engage. So it was interesting. So it was kind of like this mystery group at the time. And here I was, secretly like a little bit trying to keep my age under the radar because I didn't want to discredit myself a little bit, which was obviously a mistake of the past that I have. But also just I'm a resource. I'm a millennial. So it was kind of a
that
interesting
inclusivity is really important, to have all those voices brought together, and that's how you come up with your ideas. Because let's face it, not one person can ever set a path for an organization like that. There's just no way. They need to hear all the different voices. So I'm glad that you stood up and you did that. So what are you most passionate about in your journey of where you're at now today and how you've gotten there?
So I think what really drives my passion is I also live in the community I serve. And I see things on a personal level. I see things on a leadership level. And, working with other community leaders, identifying critical gaps, critical issues, and then thinking of how can the why holistically help support this community to address this. When that happens, it's absolute magic. That fills my cup incredibly because it just defines this moment of, our mission and action, affecting change, being a change agent. That to me is what I'm passionate about. And finding that next challenge, finding that next issue, and figuring out ways to solve problems. That's what keeps me going. So I'd have to say, especially during COVID, it's been challenging, but it's been igniting passion like every day because there's another issue that pops up: mental health and wellness. How do we address that with teens, with the high school district? Essential childcare. Okay, how can we help with this? Just working with the school district to partner on things that they're having challenges with, and homelessness, all sorts of things. Senior isolation. There's issues everywhere, and the ability in my role with this organization to help be part of the solution is just incredible.
Well, I have to say, I'm kind of in awe about your flexibility because not everyone has that skill set. Some people, you throw too many things at them, they start panicking and they just get nothing done. I think for you, you go, okay, I'm going to put that over here, I'm going to put that over there, and I'm going to put that here, and I'm going to tackle each thing one at a time, which is really amazing, especially, and I don't want to call you young, you are in your late 30s, but truly, I mean, to have that skill set so young, that really is very unique. And I would say you're definitely doing the job that you should be doing. And that being said, lessons that you've learned that you would like to tell other young women, because you really are in a very unique situation of being so young, and I don't want to keep saying it. However, you're doing a very big job, and you are as cool as a cucumber. You are just absolutely, I mean, really, I know that's like an old person term, but really, I mean, you do it with such poise. Certainly, I can tell that for sure. So what would be some of the lessons that you would articulate to younger women to help them get through some tough things?
Mm-hmm. I kind of have three thoughts there. One, you have to do what makes you happy. That has to be the center, your core, every decision-making path that you have with your career. It needs to fall under that. And that seems a little bit generic, but my Y career hasn't been traditional. I had always been told, if you want to be the executive director of this particular Y, which is one of the largest ones, in the country, you're going to have to move here or get experience here. And knowing, for me personally, with my family, my investment in this community, I had to make some decisions that may have prolonged an earlier career move, but it was ultimately what made me happy. And at the end result, my untraditional Y path or career path, I kind of broke the mold a little bit. And I just stuck with that as my North Star, and it all worked out. So I would just say, stick with your plan, stick with who you are, what you want. If it doesn't feel right, change course. The second thing is, I remember being really young and feeling like the more responsibility I had, the more tasks I had, the more valuable I was to the organization. And, that all went out the door when, of course, I had like my first child. And I was like, I got to figure out how to be more efficient with my time and be very effective. And I got really wise at just really training from team members around me, sharing opportunities with peers, and not necessarily delegating, but just bringing more people into the scope, building more trust, and just spending my time on what was really important. And then the third thing, obviously, is have some work-life balance from an early on. Have your boundaries set. Don't be afraid to have boundaries. I think we've come a long way from some of the antiquated thoughts of if you're not working at a desk from 9 to 5, then you're not working. I think with COVID, that's certainly changing a lot. Make sure you're time blocking. Make sure you have something to look forward to, some vacations on the calendar, because that's going to keep you going through those dog days, because there are dog days. There are times where you're working 13-hour, 14, 15-hour day special events. You're opening the branch, things like that. There's times where you pay your dues, but knowing you have something to look forward to, I feel has gotten me through some of those hard moments. So
it's funny you say that. I am the exact same way. I always think, well, if I only have this one day that I have to get through. I only have 2 more weeks or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's so much easier to get through the difficult times, working those long hours, and really, just powering through. And you can do it because you've got something to look forward to. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to know what is next in your journey, Lauren.
Wow, that's such a good question. Well, first of all, I love being the executive director of the YMCA. I think what's unique about this role versus kind of a more corporate role is I'm in the branch in the community every day, and that dynamic of seeing, the work and the people come through the doors in person is very gratifying. I am spreading my wings a little bit more in North County, San Diego. So in the last 7-8 months, I've moved over, well, not moved over, but I've also been supporting the Oceanside YMCA as their executive director, and then helping in Escondido with some of the childcare programs there. And I feel like I'm just kind of scratching the surface with some of that. I think there's a lot of unfinished business, a lot of more work to be done to enhance the North County communities. But you know what? I never say never. Sky's the limit. Maybe one day, I'll be the CEO of the YMCA of the USA. Who knows? But I think for now I'm going to continue just to stay focused and work on raising my family and enhancing our community.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Lauren. Really have enjoyed our time together, and all of the things that you've said really resonate with me, and I know that they're going to really encourage other women. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Now that was powerful. We hope you've been lifted and encouraged by today's inspiring voice. Always remember that life doesn't look exactly the same for each one of us. Never stop dreaming, striving, and thriving. In future episodes, we look forward to bringing you powerful stories from amazing women who learn how to lead in to challenges. Thank you for listening and being part of our community with SheEO host, Rebecca Jones.
You have been listening to a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands. Find more stories at cloudcast.us.